Tainted Grail 1.0 is almost here, and I am excited because this is the true Skyrim successor. This is the true Oblivion remaster. This is what you wanted. Challenging, interesting, optionable, and much, much more. Oh, yeah. So let's see what other people have to say about this because you already understand. I am absolutely sold.
To be honest with you, when I first heard of Tainted Grail, I really didn't see the hype. Huh, another Skyrim clone, I thought. Been there, done that. And after the whole Oblivion remaster hype train, I've honestly felt pretty burnt out by the whole genre. But after finally giving Tainted Grail a shot this past week, I have to say it surprised me in the best way possible. Because Tainted Grail The Fall of Avalon isn't just a Skyrim or Oblivion copy. It's something much weirder, much
Oh no, he's going outside in the night.
darker, and in many ways something better. Baggage included. Before we dive into it though, if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and drop a like, and if you're new here, subscribe for more RPG content. Also, thank you to Awakened Realms for providing me with a review copy for this video. Now, the very first thing I noticed with Tainted Grail The Fall of Avalon is just how
Probably the music.
stripped back and minimal the main menu is. There's no crazy sound effects, no explosion of visual effects, just clean options and a basic UI. Now you can tell that this isn't a massive budget production, but it also doesn't try to pretend that it is. There's something oddly refreshing about that level of honesty just right out the gate. The character creator is sort of the same thing, it's pretty bare bones.
Yeah, the character creator is no one honestly cares. You're not gonna see your character anyway, even though third person is coming.
You get a few templates, you can mess around with some sliders, but don't expect to spend 45 minutes perfecting your chin angle. It gets the job done, kind of, and that's a recurring theme in this game. Function over flash. Now, you start in a jail cell, which is obviously an Oblivion callback, and yeah, it does trigger that nostalgia button. But unlike Oblivion, the moment a guard walks in, I notice this weird ghosting effect around him, and I'm not sure what's the issue here, and I tried to mess around with some settings to no avail. However, it got better once I got out of the intro section. And speaking of performance, this thing runs
There are some bugs, I guess, here or there. Doesn't really matter though.
pretty well. I was honestly expecting jank right from the get-go, but frame rate has mostly been smooth, loading screens are lightning fast, and for a game this size, that actually surprised me. Especially during a transition from the intro dungeon to another
Oh, this is actually true. I never thought about this. The loading screens are fast. You're actually not pissed. Then you have to go into a house and then out of a house and then into two other loading screens. Technically, we are talking about Starfield level of loading screens. Well, okay, that's pretty much never happening. But considering how fast and no one cares they are because the game is not trash, it's good. You don't even care about that. I never even noticed. I never even thought about it while playing.
instance. I legit thought that I was still stuck on a loading screen staring at some concept art, but no, it was actually the next area, and I love that. That's just instant immersion. Now, when you swing your weapon for the first time, you'll know that this isn't the spongy hack and slash Elder Scrolls combat we've all learned to tolerate. The very first zombie in that prison corridor clanged against my
Bro, the first fight you get is actually so memorable because you instantaneously understand, oh, we are not in Kansas anymore.
club like a sack of chainmail steel on bone. Every weapon I've played with, especially the two-handers, feel heavy and mean, right up there with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 for raw impact. Like, blunt weapons literally bounce off of enemies, and the
Bro, use up all his stamina second enemy near. That's instant. That's the moment when you learn that you never let the stamina run out or you're dead.
audio is super crunchy. Now, the systems layered on top push the brutality even further because there's a proper parry window, follow-up executions, and even a quick shove that'll send smaller mobs plummeting off of cliffs, which is always satisfying. Fights are also dangerous. Low-level bandits can finish you off if you mistime a block, and open-world mini-bosses like Lonely Knights and Stone Golems will
I have talked about this guy.
flatten you in seconds if you wander in unprepared.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Yeah, yeah, this guy's so good. you you get to him and you're like, "Oh, this is a knight," and he literally says, "You you shitty vixen. uh, your life is useless. The best thing I can do for you is kill you as a mercy." And you're like, "Well, bro, what do you mean? What will you want to go? You want to go, bro? What do you mean, bro?" And then you press fight me, and yeah, he just kills you in 1 second.
That is to say, I have died a lot, but I've also grinned like an idiot a lot. However, if melee isn't your specialty, well, you can summon something that is. You can summon monsters, skeletons, and even master assassins who drink her own potions mid-brawl, and they're strong enough to solo lesser bosses and at least buy you breathing room against some of the tougher ones. Add to that, we have a campfire system. You can drop a fire anywhere, cook a meal, spend your level up points, and you've got a light survival loop that keeps you thinking about food, progression, and rest without turning the game into a chore. However, I gotta say, not everything lands. Movement feels kind of floaty without any head bob, some early boss animation
Really? I don't know about that. Movement seems kind of okay, especially when you sprint.
spasm like stop motion puppets, and archery summons occasionally fire backwards, which is
Kind of based.
indeed a look. But moment to moment, combat and survival fused into a tense, crunchy rhythm that left me more engaged than any hit trade until the bar is empty encounters I've had in Tamriel. Now, if there's one thing that really caught me off guard, it was how good it felt just to be in this world. You know, I went in expecting a gloomy Skyrim knockoff with a filter slapped over it, but instead
Well, you do get okay. Everything open world this style is technically a Skyrim knockoff if we want to be like that, but it doesn't matter. It's unique enough, and it does things better than Skyrim.
Tainted Grail's world surprised me by being weirdly beautiful. And no, I'm not just talking about having pretty lighting and good fog. It's got that same feeling that made Skyrim so immersive back in the day. You know, the moments where the music dips, the sun breaks through the trees, and you just stop to look at everything for a second.
Yeah, I never did that. I look at it when it's night. That's when it gets creepy.
Also, each region feels distinct, and there are proper biome shifts as you move through the story. The second area, Kunacht, was more sunnier than I expected given the creeping Red Death Plague, and I genuinely liked how the tone changes depending on where you are. The Cursed Castle, Sangramore, was a standout too.
Yeah, I mean, when you get to the first city, the Horns in the first map, literally when you get off Toriel Island, everything is kind of like, oh, life's kind of shit, huh? It is what it is. Well, that's just how it is. We're in the middle of nowhere at the end of the day, and you know, then it just switches tone.
It's moody, super strange, and eventually blending into this bizarre grayscale storybook sequence that felt like I was pulled into a dream. Now, about the weirdness, which is this creeping curse that's encroaching upon the land, it's more of a light mechanic than a core pillar. It functions
Actually, I don't know about that. You bad things can happen in the night. The night is scary for a reason.
a bit like a battle royale danger zone, because you can literally see the edge of it at night, marked by runic particle effects, and stepping into it means stronger enemies, more supernatural creatures, and a general
Yeah, so this is kind of true, but that's like safe zones and whatnot.
more supernatural creatures, and a general "you're not supposed to be here" atmosphere. Now, mechanically speaking, it's more like Dying Light's nighttime and not a total transformation of how you play, and I guess I wish they went a little harder in this area. However, when you combine it with the ambient throat singing music and the general strangeness of what you run into, and you get a world that feels genuinely unique and very freaky.
I mean, okay, so listen, here's the thing. He wouldn't say this if he wasn't using summons. Summons are... they're kind of cheese because the AI is surprisingly bad at kind of even attacking them to a degree. Yeah, summons is playing the game on easy mode. Go out in the night when you don't have summons. See how fast you get something shoved up where the sun don't shine. And the ambience is good. Oh,
Now, exploration itself is rewarding too. You can stumble across optional bosses, dig up buried items with a shovel, or pray at shrines to receive blessings and loot. But
I need 2 goat horns. I forgot. I never took that shrine. Shit. I always remember, but I never take it.
not everything about the world design works perfectly either. Visual bugs are frequent, you have textures stretching in first person, frog monsters
Oh, I never encountered that. I actually don't encounter a lot of bugs here at all.
stuck in trees, and the occasional broken quest step that requires a reload. Some regions also suffer from the classic jank through ambition problem, where the scale outpaces the polish. But honestly, I'll take janky ambition over soulless polish any day. You see, exploration here works because it feels like you're journeying through a strange and otherworldly dimension. Because, well, you kind of are. It often feels like you're barely clinging to reality, especially during the nights where unstoppable armored monsters start roaming and you're just hoping they don't find you. There's mystery, there's danger,
Yeah, again, night is not something.
and there's just enough whimsy mixed in with the terror to make it feel really fresh. And in that sense, it does what so many RPGs forget to do. It makes wandering around fun again, sort of like what KCD2 did earlier this year. Now, to be honest with you, I was fully prepared to tune out whatever plot this game had going on, because generally these types of games lead with game.
Yeah, but the plot is actually good, okay? Not to spoil a lot, but the game is like this. Oh, this is extremely basic plot. And that's the first thing that you think. Oh, extremely basic plot. A bunch of question marks here or there, but it's probably nothing big, right? And then you like, wait, why are these people saying these things about the stuff that I thought I already figured out? Why is it the exact opposite of what I was thinking? So the plot is kind of way better than you would expect.
Gameplay first. Usually what that means is clunky exposition, stiff delivery, and lore that sounds like someone fed Arthurian fanfiction through a name generator. But no, Tainted Grail's story is actually interesting. You see, and here's just a tiny spoiler from the start of the game, you carry King Arthur's soul. Basically, his fractured essence is inside of you, and your job is to find the scattered pieces of what made him whole. That is the premise of the game. And the way this unfolds is a lot darker, stranger, and more philosophical than I expected. There's a real atmosphere of decay and mystery, like something terrible happened long ago and now the world's just limping forward, trying to pretend things are okay.
Yeah, you get this really early on that one of the big twists about this story early on that's gonna make you be like, oh, everything's different is, and I will spoil it, skip 30 seconds ahead if you don't want to hear it, but the thing that they do to save their world, their land, is the thing that kind of kills it. That's the first big twist that you kind of get here, and that's why you are introduced the choice that you know that it's going to be one of 2 outcomes, but you don't know which one is the right one.
As for dialogue, it's actually surprisingly strong, and I mean it. Most NPCs are well written with actual personality and quirks. There's a necromancer you can talk into offing himself using philosophical arguments about death, which is hilarious, and another where yet another guy jumps off of a cliff because he thought that you were there to take his place.
Farewell.
It's completely bonkers. Now, the voice acting is also generally really good. Some characters
pretty
really
good,
sell
yeah.
their lines, like way above what you'd expect from a game like this. Unfortunately, this has a tendency to collide with the, subpar animations. For example, at the end of a particular questline, one NPC literally starts laughing so hard she cries, and her face just, it does this.
Hashtag
And look, I
not
love
wife
the actor's
material.
effort here. She's really giving it her all, and it's pretty charming, but it's also this kind of inconsistency that breaks the immersion sometimes. Like, the writing is solid, no doubt, but the delivery coupled with the terrible animations makes the game swing wildly in feeling like a current generation gem, and then to a PS3 launch title in 0 seconds flat. Again though, still, I'd much rather have strong writing with mixed presentation than the other way around. Because there are some genuinely memorable characters here, like Cillian, who's probably one of the most hilariously unhinged quest givers I've met in years. His dialogue is so bizarre and blood-obsessed that it feels like you've wandered into his fever dream by accident.
Sinon the giant, he used to rob travelers on the road, and if he wasn't satisfied with what they had, he'd crack their heads open. Now his hefty body is lying in pieces in a puddle of blood somewhere. Oh, sorry. No time for daydreaming, right? Here's your money.
I also like the co-protagonist himself, King
Dude,
Arthur.
that guy's great. He's like, oh, yeah, you killed people. Good. Off you go. Kill more of them. Pretty good.
I think he's pretty well written, and I've been surprised to see him show up as much as he does throughout the story.
Yeah, you can literally interact him almost every campfire. Well, if you feel like it, until you can't, but it is what it is.
He feels like a character who decided to be a king because his people needs him to be, and not so much because he's power hungry. I found myself very fond of this portrayal of the legendary monarch, and I think his characterization is really where the game shines. So yeah, if you're here for a good story, well...
Okay, so one thing that no one mentions here that I mention constantly is that the same way that the main story subverts your expectations just a little bit to keep it interesting, a lot of things in this game kind of do that. The most mundane quest that you decide to do can actually get pretty wild. The most important things that you think are gonna lead somewhere can lead literally nowhere. A crack in the wall can be nothing, or it can be a whole dungeon. Who honestly knows, right? Exploration can be rewarding, and it can absolutely lead you nowhere. The same way that all the side quests can do it. And I like this, because this game, fundamentally, really pushes upon you the idea of, hey, doing everything is not really worth it, but sometimes it's really worth it, so you kind of need to pick and choose what you want to do. Do you want to do this quest that's literally the equivalent of knit grandma's sweater? And it turns out that the quest literally is just knit grandma's sweater and she says thank you, in a rude voice anyway. Or she does something else. There are such great options with this game and with that. Because it gives you options to do a lot of things. But at the end of the day, you know that doing everything is useless because everything's not going to be worth it. And then you kind of pick and choose what you want to do, how you want to approach it, okay? Is this worth it? Or am I indulging just a complete insane woman in a shack who now wants you to kill people for her because she wants, to be stupid and aristocratic in places? Also, hashtag I want to marry her. Not gonna lie, best girl whole series. Okay, it is what it is, and stuff of that nature. And I think this is really good. I think a game that in general just gets you out of the monotony of wanting to do everything, but makes you pick and choose what you actually want to do. It's really fresh. It's really good because again, not everything should be worth doing. And this game does it so well. Anyway, I am 100% playing this. When 1.0 releases, I'm already playing it, so it doesn't really matter to me too much. Anyway, that was Mr. Uhulten. 10 out of 10.